Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Wellness Wednesday Check In. I am so delighted to see everyone, to feel everyone virtually here today. And as usual, we want to know where everyone is chiming in. Please join us in the chat box so that me and our special guest, we have a treat for you today, a nutritionist that is going to tell us everything we need to do to be our healthy best self through nutrition. Hello, Mindy from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And this Wellness Wednesday, of course, is this is where we come together to check in and see how we are working towards a healthy and fulfilling life. This is what this is all about. We know that exercise and proper nutrition can help us prevent a variety of illness, from disease to weight gain, even to fall risk behaviors. So that's why we're here today. Now, let's see. Betsy from Cary, North Carolina, Denise from New Jersey, Arizona, Valerie, and hello, Crystal, Colorado Springs, Elisa. Christine is dialing in from Atlanta, Georgia, and I am dialing in from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I wish we were having this on the beach right now, and we plan to next year. We're going to all gather together. Well, let's jump right in while those are still dialing in, joining us, because we had quite a few register. I want to give Christina as much of this time as possible because she has an amazing presentation. She is a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and wellness manager for Sodexo Education, providing collaborative leadership and subject matter expertise to university accounts that include Alabama, Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina. She has been involved in health promotion and wellness for over 19 years and holds a BS in clinical dietetics and a BBA in marketing and an MBA in international business. So she is well versed. She is a food allergy and food safety expert and provides training for food service staff and management and assists special dietary needs as well. Christina actively promotes healthy eating and wellness, which is what we need, and she does this through media interviews, webinars, nutrition expos, snack and learns. How can we, a snack and learn sounds really fun. Social media, virtual contests, and even more. She also serves as a guest speaker on health panels, classes, and meetings, participates in wellness fairs, and offers sports nutrition. She welcomes interviews and nutrition questions, and she's going to have you engaged where you'll be able to answer some questions as well throughout her presentation. Please help me welcome to the virtual stage, Christina Caro. Take it over, Christina.
Well, good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you're dialing in from. I'm so happy to be here. I'm very passionate about nutrition and excited to talk about this amazing topic, eat well, live well. I am all about how can we optimize our diet to increase our energy level, manage our appetite, all as well as, our performance goals, but also for just longevity, and aging well, because the moment you're born, you begin to age, right? So we're going to learn how to define our diet for our season of life. And some of the things we're going to be discussing are exactly what is a balanced diet, what are some components that really need to be in there, and then what's in it for us if I'm following this eating pattern. Okay, and what do we mean by healthy food choices? Because the word health or healthy is a little bit subjective. Okay, I'm going to point out some key nutrients that are must-haves that kind of regulate either other nutrients in the body, either that we consume or that our body can make. Also going to discuss the effect of sugar. And I know that's been on a lot of folks' mind lately. And then finally wrapping up how to define your own diet, taking all these components and just putting them together for your own personal goals. So when we talk about a balanced diet, this is one that includes a variety of food groups and whole foods that are closest to their natural state. And I'm fine about buying baby carrots that have already been washed and chopped, but then that's different than buying maybe carrot chips, okay? So you can kind of see the difference there. A balanced diet is going to provide carbohydrates, essential fatty acids and proteins and other nutrients that support a healthy metabolism and immune function. And you've probably seen the My Plate, okay, that defines those food groups for us: the fruits, the vegetables, the grains. Proteins can come from either animal or plant source or both. And then also the dairy group, I like to call that the calcium-rich food group, because we don't have to get it from dairy for those of you that have to avoid milk products. So what are the rewards of following a balanced diet? Well, there are multiple health advantages. Firstly, managing your appetite. And this is really important because if your stomach is growling, it's really hard to focus. So whether you're trying to read, get some work done, or even stay connected in a virtual meeting, it can be quite challenging. And then we also want to keep our energy level up. Okay, so whether that is doing domestic chores, or you're traveling, or maybe you're engaged in some type of recreational activities, hiking and so on, we've got to have adequate energy level, and our energy needs can literally change from day to day depending on our activities, right? We also want to prevent nutrient deficiencies. And what would cause these? Well, one could be a disease process, but our body can have higher needs for certain nutrients depending on what's going on in our life at the moment. Okay. Also, if we are following restricted diets that eliminate entire food groups, guess what else gets eliminated when you get rid of those food groups? The nutrients in those food groups. And so if we're not able to compensate in other ways, we do end up with nutrient deficiencies. And it doesn't mean it's a clinical deficiency where you have to go to a doctor and get on a prescription or something, but it can lead to what we call subclinical deficiencies, where it affects the way you feel, maybe a little bit of performance, but it doesn't manifest in a medical diagnosis like anemia, okay? We also want to maintain strong bones and muscles. Okay, whether we're athletic or not, this is important for all of us. And just to find out from you all in chat, if you will type in for me what you think the most important muscle is in your body. So let's take a moment to do that. Okay, and I'm gonna go see if I can take a look here. Hey, y'all are so smart. I thought I tricked you, but I didn't. Check it out. You guys, spot on. Yes, the most important muscle in your body is your heart. It is definitely a muscle, and it's constantly at work, right? It's constantly beating, hopefully. And so it's really important to maintain heart health, which also affects your entire, cardiovascular system and circulation, which also affects brain function, which is kind of your supercomputer that affects every other organ and muscle and tissue in the body. Which brings me to the next health advantage. We can try to control inflammation. And I'm not just talking about your fingers swelling from too much sodium intake, or maybe having some joint pain and discomfort. I'm talking down at the cellular level, okay, of what's going on inside every organ. And this also helps us support immune function, which definitely has many different types of cells. Okay. For some reason my slide is not advancing. There it goes. All right, so hopefully you all see healthy food choices. Now, when I'm talking about healthy food choices, I have to talk about fiber. Okay, a high fiber diet helps to balance the microbiome. This is the balance of bacteria in our gut, which directly impacts immune function. In fact, your gut is actually called the second immune system, okay? And also fiber helps to manage our blood sugar, keeping that pretty steady so that we can also have a mood that's evened out versus the highs and lows, right? That's going to be beneficial to everybody. So some really good fiber foods that also support immune function and a healthy gut and regulating blood sugar and even our mood are going to be legumes. This is beans, peas, lentils, okay? And 1 cup of cooked beans would have anywhere from 10 to 15 grams of fiber. And to put that into perspective for us, we're aiming for 25 grams of fiber per day. Maybe 25 to 35. Some of us need just a little bit more, okay? So if I am adding garbanzo beans from the salad bar onto my green salad. Okay, I'm adding fiber. Does lettuce have fiber? Yes, it does, but it has the fiber called roughage, which helps keep our plumbing cleaned out. Okay, but beans have two types of fiber. They have both soluble and insoluble. So when I mentioned roughage, that's the insoluble. Our body can't really digest it, but that bacteria in your gut, the probiotics, the friendly bacteria can feed off of this, which is really important because when they do that, they actually make enzymes and even vitamins, which is fabulous, okay? The soluble fiber helps to fill us up, gives us some satiety, which helps in managing our appetite. And it can also prevent blood sugar from spiking too high, where it just goes up incrementally and kind of levels out on an arc. So we don't have those highs and then a crash, okay? So that it means that it takes a little bit longer to digest and even helps to manage a healthy cholesterol. So, you know, you get wonderful benefits from that. So for me in chat, if you'll just type in what your favorite type of legume is, it could be something type of lentils, or maybe you like green peas, or I don't know, red beans or whatever, just getting a feel for what type of legumes folks like these days. Because when I get to my slide after this, I'm going to give you some examples on how you can actually incorporate fiber in different ways, especially if you're not a huge fan of beans or you're not used to eating them, right? Peggy, I hear you. You're like, none. So hopefully I can convince you to try just a little bit in different ways. But you know, the good news is you don't have to get your fiber only from beans. You can get them from fruits and vegetables, and it can be raw or cooked. Why would I say cooked, like cooked fruits and vegetables? Aren't the raw ones healthier? You know what? The short answer is no. Some of our fruits and vegetables actually have more concentrated nutrition, meaning it's a higher amount after they're cooked, because cooking makes it more bioavailable, okay? And the bright colors have more antioxidants and phytochemicals that can really boost your immune system. And maybe you've heard of some of these anthocyanins or lycopenes or the carotenoids, the flavonoids. I'll explain a little bit about that later. Don't worry about memorizing any of that. All we're interested in specifically is how do I benefit and how do I implement it, right? And then finally, our whole grains. This can be from 100% whole wheat. There are folks who have to be gluten-free, so there are other whole grains that don't have gluten. For example, buckwheat, even though it's got the name wheat in there, there's no wheat in there, it's buckwheat. So you can have buckwheat pancakes, which is a whole grain. And then it could be cereals, pasta, and rice, such as brown rice or wild rice. Okay, so my next slide here gives us some easy ways to add this in. So just for the lentils, the peas, and the beans, you can add those easily to salads I already mentioned. If you puree them, like hummus is very popular, that can actually go into a sandwich wrap where you have that as a base in place of a mayo or something like that. You know, beans can be added to burritos and tacos. I mean, there's just so many ways to get them in. And a fun food fact, peanuts are actually legumes. They are not nuts. And so those are another way to get into stir fries or to grind them into a nut butter and put them with crackers for a healthy snack that's adding protein, carb, fat, fiber, and 30 different vitamins and minerals, okay? And if you have an allergy, don't worry, there are plenty other ways that we can get these similar nutrients, which is why we want to have that balanced plate method, right, of getting a variety of food groups, so we're not going to be lacking in anything when we have to omit something because of a medical restriction. So now I am moving into the key nutrients, okay? And the first one I want to talk about are the essential fatty acids. They're called essential because your body cannot make them, okay? So that means we have to consume them from our diet. In an average diet here in the US, we don't get that much unless we plan for it. Now, one of the richest sources of omega-3 fats, which has strong anti-inflammatory properties, is going to be from fatty fish and seafood that's really from cold water. And here's a list for you. And if there's any foods in there that you like, give yourself a high five. Something you like is good for you. My dad always gets excited when I tell him that. But you can also get plant-based sources if you're vegan or a strict vegetarian. So are nuts and seeds like flax, pumpkin seed, which I love to roast, chia seeds, and even English walnuts have a pretty good amount of omega-3 fats. And then there are fortified beverages and other foods, okay? In addition to, we have, oh, let me back up. I just saw a question about farm-raised salmon. Well, I will tell you, my preference is to go as natural as possible. So I prefer wild caught, even though there is, risk of mercury during certain times of the year. But I will give you a wonderful website that you can check out. And let's see, the group is called Environmental Working Group. I don't know if you've heard about them. They're not for profit. They don't receive money from other institutions. And they're constantly putting out what they call the Consumer Guide to Seafood, following, which ones have higher and lower amounts of mercury. The challenge that they say with the farm raised is that they may be given antibiotics because the farms are very crowded. And of course, when you got too much in one area, that's when illness can occur. Okay, great question. Let's see, so we talked about nuts and seeds and the fortified foods and beverages, whether that is from eggs, juice, milk, or plant milks, and even your yogurts. Okay, now in addition to omega-3, there's omega-6, and this is good for your heart and your circulation. Okay, I think we get probably more of omega-6 in our diet. In fact, we might get a little bit too much because here in the US, we love our corn products, right? We like corn oils, corn muffins, corn chips, corn tortillas, and so on, which is fine. But if we get too much out of balance, that means we're not getting enough of the other ones we need, right? So if you get overnourished in one area, it means you could be undernourished in another. But this also includes soy, peanut, vegetable oils, and so on. Also in our mayonnaise and many of our salad dressings. And then some of the seeds we mentioned before, pumpkin and walnut, as well as sunflower seeds, will also give us our omega-6 fatty acids. So how are we going to be able to incorporate these? Well, there's a variety of ways. I mean, first, I really like the nut butters. I think that they're easy to do, and that you can carry those with you. They don't necessarily have to be refrigerated, which is nice, or you can have roasted nuts or seeds, and those can be added to trail mix. I hear from people that their most challenging meal of the day is really breakfast because they really tend to be in a hurry, maybe early morning meetings, or they've got to get a jump on traffic, or they're getting the children to school and so on. So I wanted to have a little list here for you of some breakfast in a hurry, and you can even make them ahead of time. So maybe putting together a breakfast muffin that's made from oat bran, so you've got your whole foods in there, but then you've maybe added some nuts to it, maybe flax seeds. The overnight oats, I think chia seeds are pretty popular if you like that texture, because as it's absorbing some of that moisture, it's going to swell up a little bit. My personal favorite is a smoothie bowl because I can whip that up real quick the night before, and then I can just throw in some coconut chips or something else in the morning to give it more texture. And then yogurt parfaits, and sometimes you can find these and grab and go, even at convenience stores and grocery stores, which is kind of nice. Okay, I think I saw a question. Leaky gut and not eating peanuts or seeds. The persons who would have to shy away from nuts and seeds is someone that would have diverticulitis. And that's really, in the intestines, there can be an outpouching where foods kind of get stuck and don't get exactly cleared out, and that can lead to inflammation. When you're in the inflamed part, which is the diverticulitis, you actually have to do low fiber and stay away from nuts and seeds until it's resolved. But then once it's resolved, you're able to eat it again. There probably are some other conditions, and there's so many different digestive disorders out there where the doctors may say not to. But if that's a concern for you, I would just check with your primary care provider. Good question, though. Thank you for bringing that up. Uh-oh, I think I just stopped sharing. Hang on one second. Whoops. Oh, here we go. And back again. All right, so now for our next slide. As soon as my cursor quits spinning. Okay, so on to our next key nutrient, which is going to be calcium. We know calcium is important, right, for healthy teeth and bones. also for our muscles, particularly our heart muscle. And we really need to focus on preventing osteoporosis. I think when I was a young adult, I didn't worry about it too much because I was very athletic and I thought, oh, my bones must be strong. But here's a sobering statistic from the National Osteoporosis Foundation that 1 in 2 women over the age of 50 will break a bone because of osteoporosis. And even if you're not even near 50, you want to hear about that now because you are laying the foundation of what we call osteoclasts, okay, the strengthening of those bone cells now, okay? It starts kind of in your mid to late teens and goes all the way to the mid 30s. That's the peak of when you're strengthening it. All right. So, please make sure that you're getting great calcium sources. Now, absorption is higher from dairy. Okay. So if you can tolerate drinking milk or yogurt or even having some, some natural cheeses, I really like cottage cheese because it has tryptophan, which helps me kind of chill out and relax my muscles at bedtime. But we can also get it from other sources, from plants, whether it's a plant milk that is fortified, or dark green vegetables that have been cooked. What the challenge with getting them from like spinach and kale is that they are high in phytates. There's so much fiber in there that the calcium is bound to it, and it will just pass right through, so we won't digest it, but we think we are. But if you actually will cook those greens just a little bit, 2 to 3 minutes, not a lot, it breaks those bonds and breaks down some of that fiber so that our body can actually digest that calcium. So let's see, Betsy says too much calcium, she has to stop taking the supplements. Some people actually metabolize that at a higher rate. I would say go off of the supplements unless the doctor told you to do so. Now, if you don't get any dairy products or rich sources of calcium, then you would talk with him about what would be an appropriate level. Usually those pills are 500 milligrams. Okay, but there is an upper limit for calcium. If you get too much, it could lead to calcified kidney stones, and that's not fun for anybody. Okay. So an easy way that I have found, and this is for me, to incorporate a little bit of dairy, because I don't necessarily drink a lot of milk and I try not to eat too much cheese, is really through yogurt-based sauces. And I don't know if any of you like Mediterranean food. I am a huge fan of Mediterranean food. I took a spin off the typical Euro wrap and tried to take it into a bowl so that I could get more leafy greens. And in this photo, you'll see spinach, okay? And I've got chickpeas in there and, marinated tomatoes and cucumbers. But, that ziti sauce that's so wonderful that's made from Greek yogurt, and it's got some cucumber and some dill. I just kind of put that as a dollop on top. You can obviously make it more runny if you want to toss it. And then there's the Euro meat. For those of you that are vegan, you can leave the meat out. And you could probably do a vegan-based sauce. But I thought that was kind of a fun way to mix it up. There's also yogurt drinks that you can buy that have those probiotics in there so that it really feeds that microbiome that I talked about. All right, so let's see in chat. I see here's a question. Promoting whole milk. Okay, so this is a great question. There has been a lot back and forth over the last decade, actually, on the type of milk to drink. First, whole versus skim. We have found that whole milk has a type of fat that's important for our bodies called sphingolipids. And if you're a science junkie, you want to go look that up, have a lot of fun reading about it, but that it's actually good for your health. And whole milk even helps us to manage weight. And you're like, but wait, there's more fat in there and more calories. How does it help us manage a healthier weight? Because these different fatty acids work together in our body's process of lipolysis, which is fat burning. We don't really understand the whole mechanism yet, but we know there's an association. So now we're not saying everyone, eliminate milk or drink skim milk. So whole milk can be. I tend to go organic whenever I can. I'm also a super taster, and so I'm finicky about the flavors. So that's just my thing. Plant milks are okay. However, the absorption of that calcium from plants is not near as high. So for example, if I have, let's say I have calcium fortified orange juice, you're only going to absorb about 8% of that calcium, where from cow's milk, I am actually absorbing about 95%. And some of the plant milks are going to have added sugar to make them taste a little bit better because, plain rice milk or almond milk might not have a great flavor. Of course, cow's milk does have lactose in it, which is the natural sugar. So you just have to kind of moderate basically the amount that you're having. Okay, so we're going on now to our next one. Key nutrient of vitamin D. This is very necessary for a healthy immune system. And since we've also been in pandemic mode for over 18 months, you've probably heard about it already. In fact, I've heard about many doctors in internal medicine actually recommending this in supplement form. And the reason being is there's not a lot of foods where it's naturally occurring. You can get it from fatty fish, which we talked about earlier, beef liver, and small amounts in egg yolk. You can get some from mushrooms, and then it's going to be fortified in your cereals, your milk, and your orange juice. Okay. Now, our body will make its own vitamin D if we have natural sunlight exposure, even if it's just, 15 minutes a day. And it really just has to be your face and your arms. But if you're like me, your doctor's probably told you to wear sunscreen so that we don't get skin cancer. So there's a delicate balance. So I just try not to get too much exposure at a time. So I might be out there just for 10 minutes while I'm reading or on a call. And then I get myself back in the shade. If you are in an area where there is low sun exposure, excuse me, and you don't have any of these foods in your diet, please talk to your doctor or your pharmacist about doing a supplement. Now my voice is getting scratchy. Sorry, so I'm going to pop in a throat lock.
Go ahead. I will, while you're getting gathered, I will just reiterate some of the things that you said. This has been fantastic. Nancy, you were saying if your vitamin D is very, very low, should you take a supplement or try to eat foods rich in vitamin D? And that's what she was just saying right there, that, if you live in an area where there's low sun, I think that's the answer, that it is okay to take a supplement. I know myself, sometimes I get that scratchy throat, and if I don't drink water or get a lozenge in there, it just messes me up more. So I was just coming in, Christina, to help you until you got things back going. But this information is so great, and I know we have questions coming. First and foremost, you've been doing fantastic doing the chat and your presentation as well. But we're going to let you jump right back in so that you can answer any more, have more time for questions at the end.
All right, thank you for the save. I appreciate that. So yeah, so we did talk about for the healthy immune system, but it also aids in absorption of calcium and phosphorus. Your calcium and phosphorus ratio is a delicate balance, and it's really important for bone metabolism. Okay, but it's also influenced by other things. So if this is something that you're concerned about because of family history, I would just say talk with your pharmacist or your primary healthcare provider. Now, sodium is our next nutrient. And most people are told, hey, cut down on sodium, don't get too much. Well, let me explain a little bit of the why behind it. There are some situations, though, where you might be told to get more sodium depending on the climate that you're in, or if you have an excessive sweat rate. But sodium is a key electrolyte, okay, that the body is using to manage fluid balance. Okay, that fluid balance is going to affect your muscles, it's going to affect your blood pressure, it's going to affect your brain. Your brain is like almost 80% water. And so if fluid balance is off, that can cause headaches or brain fog. It definitely affects appetite. Okay, so for an example, to let you know, I used to be a huge fan of Chinese buffets. I think when I was in my late 20s, I was always running around, never had time to or made time actually, to make my own food and stuff. And this was before I was a dietitian. But I always found that about an hour later, I was hungry. And I would say to myself, wait a minute, I just went to a Chinese buffet, ate like 2.5 plates of food. I cannot be hungry right now. What is going on? Well, how is that affecting my appetite? Because the high sodium content actually is lowering other nutrients in my body, particularly the potassium ratio to sodium, which is important for fluid balance. So even though my body is looking for more key nutrients, okay, such as potassium, I just get the sense that, oh, appetite's back on. And then what do? You snack on something that probably has salt. And then it's just this constant, vicious cycle that happens of I'm hungry, I don't know what I want, and I keep snacking, but I'm not satisfied. Chances are sodium is the culprit. But now you are armed with knowledge, okay, so that you can try to manage that properly. Now, there's going to be an abundance of sodium in our processed foods, meat, deli meats, cheeses, and so on. So you can check the food labels, though, And where it has the percentage of the nutrient, 20% or more, is considered high. So I would go with something with 15% or less. And there are certain brands of cheeses and deli meats where you can get them in a lower sodium version. Maybe your favorite soup doesn't come in a low sodium version. You have one of two options. You have less of that soup at one sitting, or try to learn how to make it yourself where you're controlling the sodium, okay? But by limiting sodium, you can also reduce fluid retention, which is going to help manage blood pressure, and then also those aching joints or low back pain you might be having, okay? And there are a variety of salt-free spices and herbs that you can try. I have a few listed here. There are salt-free seasonings put together for you already by manufacturers. However, the salt substitute often is a potassium derivative. And so I would just check with your doctor if you're on any heart medication or you've been taking a diuretic and they've given you a prescription for potassium, they might not want you using certain salt-free seasonings. So just check with them on that, okay? So one of my simple things that I like to do to flavor certain foods, whether it's going to be potatoes or maybe kind of a base for one of my sandwich wraps or even a pasta, is a simple basil pesto. From time to time, I'm even growing my own basil. I know, overachiever. But with the fresh basil leaves, you're just going to puree that in a nice blender that goes to a high speed. I'm putting in walnuts in there for those omega-3 fatty acids. I'm using a high-end extra virgin olive oil because flavor does make a difference, and just some cracked black pepper, okay? Now, normally pesto would also have pine nuts. Those can be quite expensive. That's why I'm substituting walnuts, but I'm telling you it's because I'm getting omega-3s. And then if you leave the Parmesan cheese out of it, this way you can actually freeze it, okay? And I've given you some tips here on lining an ice cube tray. Then you just pull out what you need, from a freezer bag and just use the amount. Once you've defrosted it, then you can put in grated Romano or Parmesan cheese to give that wonderful flavor. This will change, I think, your life as a quick method for something that's low sodium. The cheese is going to put some in, but it's going to have a lot less than if you were to buy it store-bought. Okay, so now my next category that I want to talk about that's been kind of a popular topic for a while is sugar. And when I'm talking about sugar, I'm speaking mainly about added sugar, the refined sugars, the white sugar that you see. It can be harmful and contribute to inflammation down at the cellular level. In fact, and I was kind of shocked when I read this statistic, the American Heart Association, and you can go on to heart.org and I think just do a browser search on their website for this article. But it says that just drinking 1 can of regular soda has the effect on your heart health as smoking 1 cigarette. Yes, you heard me correctly. But when I went on to read, it was because the effect of the inflammation that it has on your arteries and your veins, okay, that can contribute to problems such as atherosclerosis and some other issues, putting you at high risk for heart attack and stroke. So I was like, wait a second, just 1 can, 1 12-ounce can? I'm like, oh my goodness, I got to talk to family members who like to drink kind of all day long, So they have listed kind of a max limit of, and then again, this is added sugar, okay? So we're not talking about don't eat fruit. No, that's not it. We're talking about the added sugar. Okay, so looking at 9 teaspoons is the upper limit for males and 6 teaspoons for females. And I guess that's probably based more on body size and metabolism. But when you're reading those labels, it's not going to tell you how many teaspoons of sugar is in it. It's going to tell you by the gram, right? So just as a quick little method, 1 teaspoon would be 4 grams of sugar. So that way you can do some simple math, just quickly on your little smartphone. Yeah. So can y'all see that? I see how it's just barely cut off. There's nothing after that list of 4 grams equals 1 teaspoon. To keep in mind about that. Okay, there we go. So now on to the next tip. Another favorite that I've been doing, especially during the summertime, is to freeze fruit and fruit purees. This is a wonderful way to chill and flavor beverages. I have really gotten away from artificially flavored drinks, and I haven't drank really sodas for years. Although being a Southern girl, we like our sweet tea. But I had to wean myself from that because there's just too much sugar. You know, sometimes we got to make a sacrifice and invest in ourselves. And so I have made what I call tea infused water. And so what does that mean? I kind of make a sun tea. It's very slow steep. The tea leaves don't become bitter because the water's not too hot. And then I will either use frozen fruit as ice cubes, or I have actually made a fruit puree. And as it melts into the tea, or if it's just plain water, then it gives it a refreshing flavor, and just a little bit of sweet that's all natural. So here's some ideas that you can use either for your sparkling water or your fresh lemon or limeade or however. And I hope that you enjoy it because I think it's a lot of fun. And if you have children, they like it too, especially help you make it. Okay, so now our next category is healthier holiday foods. And I know September is going to be here in a blink of an eye. And I feel like after Labor Day, it just moves so quickly. I was like, oh, the holidays will be here before we know it. So my suggestion is going to incorporate the fruits, the nuts, the seeds, the vegetables, and whole grains that we've already talked about into your sweets and snacks, because healthier eating is not all or nothing, right? And I've already been a big fan of vegetable-based sweets, and maybe you grew up with some of these already. Now, I don't know who hasn't really had pumpkin pie, but I was not introduced to sweet potato pie until college. And then I was like, where have you been my whole life? Because I love sweet potatoes, mostly in the form of sweet potato fries, but now I've branched out. And then carrot cake that's actually made, yes, with real carrots. So, you know, you got to think about some of your favorite foods, and that you can incorporate them, being a little bit healthier by swapping out from processed sugar to natural sugar, and then eventually reducing the sugar. But you kind of ease into it. It's kind of a slow transition because I really want it to be a lifestyle change. So fruit-based is usually pretty easy. Usually I'm able to find, you know, a fruit cobbler, a fruit pie. I think apple pie usually is kind of one of the favorites. But even if we're talking about muffins or breakfast breads, you know, it could be a banana nut loaf. So you're getting fruit, you're getting nuts. That means you're getting fiber, you're getting protein, you're getting some of those key nutrients we've already talked about. You know, if you're making cookies and everybody wants chocolate chip, well, can you put peanut butter in there? Or can you put oatmeal or raisin as well? You know, anything you can do to just add more nutrition. Yeah, we're going to get a little bit more calories, but you're going to get more nutrients per calorie if you make it nutrient dense. And then for whole grain based, oh my, popcorn is wonderful. You know, it doesn't have to be the kind that is just air pop and has no seasoning whatsoever. I mean, caramel popcorn is still a whole grain, right? Yes, there's going to be some sugar, but if normally you just had the caramel candies and nothing else, and you went from that to caramel popcorn, you just improved your fiber content. So again, it's not all or nothing. We're just going to ease into it, okay? So when we're talking about healthy snacking tips, okay, you want to pair your healthy foods with the ones that are indulgent, okay? So for example, if I want to go from, maybe I'm a huge fan of peanut butter cups, okay? Maybe I go from that to a dark chocolate bar that has nuts. Dark chocolate has antioxidants in it. I think if it's got at least 75%, right, dark chocolate. The nuts we talked about are going to have fiber in there. It's also going to be a source of protein. And if it's not roasted and salted, then it'll be a lower bit sodium. And so that you're getting those two together. And then eventually maybe you make your way over to plain roasted nuts, you see. So that's how you would just kind of swap out those less nutritious snacks gradually. I have gone from crackers or chips and dip to actually slicing apples very thin and calling them apple chips, even though they're not fried or anything, they're just fresh, and putting those into a dip. So, you know, there's probably different ways that you can do that, whatever that's going to work for you. All right. And of course, we appreciate any tips that you're typing in chat already, things that have worked for you. We love to hear from you and appreciate your participation. So now getting down to defining your diet. All right, the best diet plan, honestly, is the one that's going to work for you that you can stick with, okay? Hopefully it is going to include rich fiber, be lower in the saturated fat that can clog your arteries, lower in sodium so we can regulate appetite and body weight, and then definitely lower in those refined sugars so that we don't have inflammatory problems, you know, like pre-diabetes or something like that. And you want to have a wide range of whole foods that have the key nutrients that we talked about. Now, I believe that we have different seasons in life. Okay. There's the season of plenty and the season of famine. There's times where you're enjoying great health and there's times where you're struggling. Maybe it's with sports injuries, or maybe you are having some arthritis, or you had, twinge in your back, or you're suffering with migraines or whatever. Maybe that you're going through a season of not sleeping well, that you've developed a little bit of insomnia. Maybe there's things you're concerned about, financial struggles, worry, relationships, whatever the reason that's keeping you from sleeping. Well, in that season, you need a diet that supports sleep. Okay. So when I'm saying define your diet, it's not going to be this is it now and it looks like that the entire year. No, because there's going to be a season of holidays. There's going to be a season of other things going on. So I want you to be able to flex your diet with the season that you're in. Okay. So that it fits your lifestyle. Because if the diet doesn't fit your lifestyle, you cannot stick with it and you won't be able to have those benefits permanently. The best thing we can do to control these ingredients is with mostly home prepared meals and snacks. And it's a time investment. And I know because I travel a lot, you see all the places, that I'm covering 4 different states. But when I'm back at home base, I try to do as much as I can, take advantage of the space in my freezer and so on. And I also swap out with family members. My brother loves to cook and I'm like, hey, I've got this, what you got? Let's trade or compliment each other, in what we have for a meal. So if you can have just a handful of solid recipes for dips and sauces, okay, remember I talked about that pesto sauce, you can make your own hummus dip, maybe you've got a great salad dressing or marinade, and then these can be applied for sandwiches, some other treats, and then maybe learning how to make your own soup base, okay, so you're able to control that sodium content and fluid balance, okay. So let's see, I wanted to give to you also, it should be on my next slide here, some great resources, and you probably have some of your own already, and that is totally fine. Sodexo's Mindful website has 3 categories, and one of them is a recipe database, and the other one is just general tips for wellness. Okay, so it's going to have nutrition tips from registered dietitians. We've got some fitness tips from our fitness and trainer experts, and then also it's kind of like mind, body, and spirit. So talking about gratitude, I know y'all focused on that for one of your wellness, which is really wonderful. And then thekitchen.com, and notice kitchen does not have an E in it, has video instruction on some cooking techniques with simple whole food recipes. I didn't want to suggest whole food and not tell you how to prepare them, right? And then eatingwell.com has this wonderful guide to cooking with fresh herbs. And you don't have to grow your own herbs. You can buy them already clipped, or maybe you could even buy a small container and just keep it watered, which is what I kind of do with my Thai basil, so that you'll be able to take advantage of some of these wonderful, soups and stews and sandwiches and salads using these fresh ingredients without missing so much of the sodium perhaps that you've been used to. And so that really concludes the presentation. And I know there's a few questions I've still not answered in chat, so we'll cover those now. I really believe, food is medicine. And if we have proper food and beverage in our diet, it will probably get us at least 85 or 90% to where we want to be. So I'm also on Instagram. If you want to follow me, the_mobile_dietitian, you're welcome to do so. Because of my crazy travel, I'm not going to blow up your feed and post a lot. I probably post once a week or every 2 weeks, depending on my travel schedule. But, I do give some fun little advice here and there. You're also welcome to ask your questions now, of course. So I think that, that's our 15 minutes for Q&A.
This has been amazing. Thank you so much. I love the food is medicine shirt. That is fabulous. Well, at this part of the program, I am going to turn it over to my producer, Crystal, who is going to help with the questions. She'll address the ones that are in the chat and the one that she has well. But I wanted to personally thank you so much. And is the food is medicine, is that a trademark shirt, or can anybody use it? We need that. That's amazing.
I think I probably found that online every now and then. I'm like, what's a fun shirt to wear at a health fair or a nutrition expo? When I saw that, I bought one in yellow and one in black. So I'm sure it's still out there. You have to type on just like health promotion shirts or something like that, and you'll probably locate it.
Okay. All right, Crystal, take it over.
All right. So just to get started here, I don't know why it's not allowing my video to, there we go. Thank
I
you
had to
so
stop
much.
sharing probably.
I was like, I can't get on. So hello, everyone. You know, there were quite a few questions that were sent in, and Christina, you did an excellent job covering a majority of them. So thank you so much. There were a couple of questions that I wanted to just read out here. I'm looking at my other screen, so if you see me look this way, that's why I'm looking this way. But there was a question that said, you know, hey, keto allowed me to lose 12 pounds. Now it's creeping back. Can keto be sustained? And if not, how then do we lose the stubborn weight? So any suggestions with that?
Okay, interesting. So during the presentation, I did talk about fluid balance. One of the ways that a keto diet is effective in quick weight loss, because it does happen pretty quick, right? That first month or so, is that your body is going to be burning fat and muscle at the same time. Those energy mechanisms aren't just kind of like one and then it stops and does another. They kind of do them together. And so since you're burning fat and muscle tissue at the same time, you're going to lose a lot of water. So some of that weight is not dry weight, it's water weight, okay? So that's why you can see big fluctuations. When your weight comes back, it also won't be all fat and muscle either. Some of it will be water weight. I think that the keto diet probably tends to be higher in sodium though, because it's heavy on meat. And it can really stress out your kidneys because of that fluid change, okay? And sometimes people feel kind of achy. They call it the keto flu. I have felt it because I tried it for a couple of months. I was like, what is this? What's everybody talking about? I want to experience it. And I was like, oh my gosh, my muscles aching. Why do I feel so tired? And my body's like, because you're not giving me any carbs. Carbs are energy. I'm like, of course. So, I mean, it's not really a lifestyle diet. I mean, I think it's fine for some short weight loss. You've got to get in that wedding dress, or you've got to, maybe you're getting ready to prepare for a surgery or something. I think that's one of the ways that it came about. How do you get the stubborn weight off? That is a great question. It's an age-old question that we're still asking. And believe me, if I had one answer to tell you, I'd be so rich right now. I would have a video out. I would have my own show. It really is more about lifestyle. And we have to figure out what is going to work for us and fit the whole time. That's why in the beginning I said we have seasons, and you got to find something to define your diet to match the season you're in. And keto fit one season, but it wasn't sustainable, right? So I would say really focus on what your needs are. I mean, yes, we want to achieve that weight that we have in our mind. For me, it's not when I was 18. That's not possible. My body has said no. But what was at age 30 is achievable, and that's what I'm going for right now. So, but try to focus on functional nutrition. What function do I need most? Quality sleep, all right, emotional health, strong immune system, whatever's in your top three. And let's define a diet that's for that. When you're addressing those things, you're going to have a higher energy level. You're going to be able to do some of your fitness routine, which definitely helps keep the weight off. And we won't be emotional eating and snacking too much, so you won't have those extra calories. I have to say the majority of us easily consume 20 to 25% more than we actually need. Okay. Some of it's hormone regulation, but a lot of it's just our mind and our emotions. Like, no, I need ice creams. Like, no one ever died from an ice cream deficiency. You don't really need it. You want it. But for mental health, maybe you need it a little bit. So I hope that addressed the question. I wish I could give it a little bit more definitive, but it's just really hard to do.
That's great. And there was another question that came in on the chat. What's your take on stevia? Did we answer that one?
Oh, no, we didn't. So
okay.
Stevia was touted as natural sugar. It's sort of not. The leaf might be with a sweet flavor, but it's processed. But it's okay to use if you want. I mean, it works for a lot of people, especially those who are like, hey, I'm managing diabetes, or I've got these other issues, or some people feel like they truly have a sugar addiction, whatever. It's okay. It's not going to be as terrible for you as some of the other artificial sweeteners that are in a category of what's called neurotoxins. When you have a little bit of something and it's literally 200 times sweet on your tongue, that's not good for your body. It puts your body in a very excited state, and that can actually cause inflammation as well. So yeah, the bottom line is it's okay to use if you want to. You don't have to use it. I mean, again, I like to focus on fruit and juice and the fruit purees. but it's not as convenient to do that. So my short answer is it's okay. Just understand it's really not real sugar. I'm 100% all natural, but it's close.
So, Christina, I want to ask you there too. Excuse me, Crystal, about natural sweeteners. Like you were bringing up the carrot cakes and all of those things we could do at holiday time. Because I'm
Mhm.
an 80-20 believer that it's okay 20%. Are there any natural sweeteners like honey? What about honey instead of sugar? What do you say? Like, the sugar bringing inflammation at 25 grams, you think is nothing, but it's really 6 tablespoons. Like, I want to be away from sugar, the stevia, all of it. What about natural sweeteners?
Yeah, no, that's actually an excellent question. Thanks for bringing that up. The most natural is going to be 100% maple syrup. It has a distinct flavor, so it won't apply to everything, but it can go in oatmeal, even coffee. Goes great with hazelnut flavor. And then yes, honey, definitely. There's so many different varieties of honeys as well. So certainly you can do that. There's probably even dehydrated honey that's in form of crystals. That's okay. When we get into sugars, and like cane sugar, is cane sugar going to be better for you than high fructose corn syrup? Okay, the short answer is yes, but not that much. It is more natural, but it's not like you went out and grew your own sugar cane and then boiled it in your pot in the kitchen and let it air out and then use it. So it's not quite as natural. But when we get to the concentrated sugars, that's just a really tough effect. And let me give a prime example. If I want to make my own orange juice and it's all natural, and so I have these bag of navel oranges that I got during the holidays on special, and I took 6 or 8 oranges and squeezed my 16-ounce glass of juice. All right. Well, drinking that juice, even though technically it's all natural, it's too much sugar. Because I wouldn't eat 8 navel oranges at one time, I shouldn't drink them at one time. Your body can't process it all. It is way too much. So if you want to go ahead and squeeze it all, but then you need to take that 16 ounces and you need to make it that juice cup size that was your great grandmother's. It was this big, right? It was 4 ounces. That's it. Because then you're going to be getting more than 1 or 2 oranges at a time. Okay. So that's the reason why portion size is really important.
This was good. So I want to make sure that we have enough time left at the end of the session for Christina to do her final words, and then also for Dr. Schiller to do her final words. So if it's okay, I'll go ahead and jump into our prize giveaways. Is that okay? Okay, awesome. So everyone, first, thank you so much for sending us your information for the gratitude challenge. If you remember, last month, we decided that we were going to do the gratitude challenge for those that would write 3 things a day. I almost forgot. 3 things a day for 30 days. And we had quite a few people that sent us their information and said that they wanted to participate. So I want to give away the prize for that. Give me 1 second. And what we'll do is I will show you what it is that we have for you. I thought it was really cute, and it will help you to continue with the practice of writing in your journal. So we have this beautiful gratitude journal that we are going to give away. And we hope that you love it. And so I just want to also bring up our wheel, because we always do it on the wheel. So here we go. 1 second. All right, here we go. So let's spin the wheel. Uh-oh. Are you guys able to see that?
Yes, the wheel came on.
It did. Okay, good. All right. So Diane Pachico, you are the winner for the gratitude challenge. So we'll make sure that we reach out to you and give that to you. And then we also wanted to make sure that we announce the new challenge for this month. So let me just bring that up here. So the new challenge for this month is the weight loss challenge. So we ask that if you want to participate in this, make sure that you send us your name. But basically, if you lose 5 or more pounds in the next 30 days, your name will be entered for the drawing. And we have a cool little prize for you next month that we will also announce. So just love all the feedback that we've been receiving from a lot of the challenges that we've been doing. I wanted to share a couple of those because I think, it's all about community, and it's all about us being able to keep each other accountable and encourage each other to keep going. And so we had some that said, it was great. It caused me to pause and take time to be thankful. Being intentionally thankful made me more energetic and able to face life's challenges with God. And so we thank you for sharing that. And then also someone said, this daily gratitude exercise really impacted my life in a good way. I chose to start each day with 3 things I was grateful for. Some days it was simply that I woke up and had the activity of my limbs, and others it was that something that was designed to make me feel small, less, or insignificant failed. As I look back over those 30 days of journaling, I have proof that everything is not going wrong in my life and that I don't always lose. Finally, I have come to realize that I need to be more intentionally grateful. And I absolutely love that one. Thank you so much for sharing. I didn't share names because I didn't ask for permission, but I just wanted to share some of the feedback that we received just so that you will know that people are benefiting from this. And we just thank you so much for, being with us and taking on the challenge. So with that being said, I'm going to bring Dr. Sheila and Christina back up so that they can close out and we can, see what's next.
Okay. Well, congratulations to you, Diane, and to all the others that participated. And I am super, super excited about our next 30-day challenge. Remember, all you have to do is lose 5 or more pounds to be entered for a chance to win a special prize. And Christina, we always let our special guests give the last word, so maybe you can give us some encouraging thoughts on that. But she certainly has given us the roadmap to do that. So half the work has been done. The other half is for that. As I turn it over to Christina for the closing words, I would just say thank you all for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you next month. Christina, what do you have for us?
Well, I would say you can't go wrong if you just listen to your body. In order to do that, that means taking a little bit of time to be quiet and to be still. Okay, so if I'm feeling hungry all day long, I have to assess, well, what's going on all day long? Was I up later than normal, and then my body was requiring extra nutrients, but I didn't get it? Or did I sleep in too late? My body clock is off. I mean, you got to go and look at, why do I have a runaway appetite, or why do I have a headache, or why? I mean, yes, we're not physicians, right? But we do know ourselves better than anybody else. So try to find out, and then ask yourself, well, have I had enough water? Did I get too much sugar today? Maybe I had too much sodium at lunch. These little components that I gave you today are really going to be able to help you assess that question. And then you're going to know how to plan your plate with all the components that we gave you for those items. Okay. So you know yourself better than anybody else, and just, plan for the season. And I wish you the best of luck, especially with the weight loss. Be realistic and be kind to yourself, because we're not perfect. And if you don't make your goal, don't get emotional about it and then have emotional eating, because that won't help. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.